Hello everyone. So in this video I will show how you can communicate with the external service from your Spring Boot application. So in this video we will try to communicate with this service. So if I'll just show you what this returns, this API. So if we'll just go here, as you can see this returns an object of this type, right? And if we'll change the ID, this will return a different object. So what we will do is we will try to create a proxy service or proxy API in our Spring Boot, where rather than calling this API, user would be calling our service, and we will call internally, communicate with this API and get the response and return that on front end. Okay, so let's start. So first let's create an object of public post and users post, right? And as you can see, I have created this one object of type post which contains this JSON property. Okay, so if I'll come here, so I have mapped user ID to user ID and title to this title. I have skipped two other property. If you want, you can add those as well here. So that's the object that we want to return. And now to communicate with this external service, we can leverage REST template, which is very straightforward. You just have to create this object, and then on this template there are many methods available. We can leverage this one, get for entity. There are other, apart from get, if you will see, we have delete. There should be exchanges, allows you to customize your request. Like if you want to add some header for authorization, some correlation ID, so you can use this, where you can manually pass the header. Okay, so we'll be leveraging this method, get for entity. Let's create URI. URI for us would be this. ID we will make that dynamic, right? And the object that we want that this API would be returning is post. So we just have to pass that type and get the body from this HTTP entity, because this method will be returning an entity. So what you can do is, because we are only interested in body, so we will get the body. But if you want to inspect header, what was the status code, so you can get those values as well. Okay, so because we are leveraging here URI, so this is telling us that this may throw an exception. There is okay, so let's try surround with try and catch for now. Now let's assign this body. Now we will return body from here. If there is any error, we will just, for now we'll just return null. Okay, now let's go to our controller. So in controller we'll be creating an API. Let's call it post, and this will have a path variable ID, right? Let's rename this to get users post, because we want to read this variable, we need to use this annotation at path variable, which would allow us to read the path variable. Now, because this service is already a type of app service, we have auto-wired this. So we just have to call here method get user ID, get users post, and pass in the ID. So that's it. Now this is giving an error because return type of this method is post, but here we are returning string, so that's why this is giving an error. Once we replace that, the error is gone. So now let me run this. Now if we'll go to this, now let's go to our API, right? Post 1. As you can see, we are here getting only 2 property, because in our model, if you look at here, I have mapped only 2 properties. That's why we are getting this response. So here on this, if we'll go to 1, you will see this is what getting written here as well, right? So this is how you communicate with the external service. Now one thing that we have done in our service is we have instantiated this class object directly. Generally we don't do this, otherwise this service becomes little bit too rigid and we won't be able to write any unit test cases for this. So generally what people do is they try to create a bean or make this variable basically a dependency here, right? Like how I have done here. So if you can see, you can just create this object and let the Spring Boot instantiate this object rather than us, okay? But REST template is not registered in Spring Boot. So what we have to do is we just have to go to our bean and create this bean REST template, register REST template, and return the object. And in our service, now rather than using this object, we'll be using this, and this should give us the same result. Let's run that, and if I refresh, as you can see, we are still getting the same result. What we have done here is we have just removed the dependency of object creation from this method, and we have given that responsibility to Spring Boot. Okay, so that's it for this video.